What's up, everybody? Welcome to Solana Weekly. This is your host, Thomas, and I want to thank you for joining in. Let's take a dive into the latest trends, use cases, and people behind the incredible growth of the Solana ecosystem. None of this is financial advice, but I'm hoping that all of this is alpha. Now let's get to the show.
All right. What's up, everybody? This is Thomas Bahamas, and you are here for another episode of Solana Weekly. I am super excited today because we have an amazing guest for you with some amazing announcements coming out soon. So I would like to give a warm welcome to Omi to the show. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks so much, Thomas. Glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You're coming onto my platform. I feel like you've had me on your platform, on your spaces enough, and now it's time for you to come on the show. So I really appreciate it.
No, I think it's about time for sure.
Yeah, that sounds good. And great timing too, because Kyzzen is kind of blowing up. You've got some big announcements. So I do want to just kind of start with the big announcement just to get that out of the way, and then we can work our way back.
For sure. So yesterday on the 4th of September, we actually announced on our Twitter space that Thomas was actually hosting. We actually announced that Kyzzen finally is about to launch our own NFT collection called Kyzzen no Sekai. No Sekai is a Japanese phrase for the world. So the English version would be the world of Kyzzen. And this will be an anime art collection that is supported by AI. So we can go a little bit into the art later. Yeah, it's basically anime art that's supported by AI, and it is a fully utility project. So for those of you who don't know, Kyzzen does a lot in data aggregation and analytics, and NFT holders will basically benefit from, premium exclusive access to a lot of these new tools coming out.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I'm a huge fan of the site, and that's why I'm always happy to support what you're doing, because a lot of what I was trying to do with this podcast was really introduce people to Solana, get them to understand, onboard them, and then I took a look at your site and was like, man, I am not doing enough. You guys do an immense amount of data aggregation. There's NFTs, there's tokens, there's everything you kind of would want about the Solana ecosystem in one place, right?
Thanks, Thomas. I really appreciate that. What I can say is that we didn't get it right from the start, right? What you see today on Kyzzen is really the blood, sweat, and tears across the last 3 years after I created Kyzzen. A lot of learnings, a lot of improvements, a lot of feedback that came from the community that kind of created the platform that you see today. I think one huge learning point was at the start. So I won't go straight into all the way back into the history, but at the start, I kind of felt that I kind of know how I want to onboard people, or what I think the ideal onboarding process is, what I think that people should know, should learn when they first come into the space. And then I, slowly realized that, there is a lot of actually what I thought was the right way to do things isn't necessarily the way it's going to work. And slowly but surely, I realized that everyone that comes into space inadvertently wants to make money.
Yeah, it's the reality of it, right? Especially that's my experience. Anybody that I know that wants to get into crypto, it's what are you doing? It's oh, well, I'm doing a lot of lending on Solana. I really like, this protocol. And they're like, all right, well, where's the 1000x? That's not what I'm talking about, so sorry to derail you. Keep going.
No, absolutely. That's exactly what we're talking about, because I had to do a lot of thinking the end of last year, because we used to be primarily focused on the NFT space, right? Onboarding users to NFTs, educating them about NFTs. And when we finished our entire build for the Solana NFT space at the end of last year, basically the team was asking me okay, where are we going from here? And I took quite a bit of time to think and try and figure out how do we expand or how do we pivot. And then I just dug way back and realized that, okay, maybe let me scrap, every notion that I have that what I'm doing is correct, right? Let's assume that everything, I know nothing. We are an onboarding platform. We've built a platform with good UI, UX and solid performance and everything is good. But what can we do better? And I really had to zone in on why do people want to be onboarded, and eventually arrive at two conclusions, right? Number one, everyone actually wants to come into crypto to make money. And number two, people are motivated, incentivized to learn about something, explore something, if it presents a money-making opportunity. And therefore, we had to kind of do a huge pivot, rip out everything on the website that didn't directly correlate to something interesting in the sense that it could help you make money, and kind of change from becoming the standard data aggregation platform that you see everywhere to just focus on opportunities. So if you go to Kyzzen right now, 80% of the links directly correspond to a different way of making money on Solana, whether it's tokens, NFTs, DeFi, DP, airdrops, squares, bounties. Our job is to find them all. And hopefully, with this whole lineup of different kind of opportunities, because different strokes for different folks, hopefully it will entice people to be like, yeah, Solana has so much to offer. There's so much different things to explore. Maybe I'll just try out a few. Yeah. So that's how we kind of ended up in this current build. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy too because you started out primarily focusing on NFTs, and that's what Solana was, right? Like you go back a couple of years, there wasn't much DeFi, there wasn't many tokens on Solana. It was like everybody wanted NFTs. They wanted to know every single thing they could about an NFT project. They wanted to know, all rarities, every single like possible part of the NFT they wanted to break down, where I would doubt that many people are looking that deep into it right now, right? Like I think that's probably going to switch, and we'll get into that more. But as Solana has shifted and grown, there's different metas. You have to be able to have everything, right? So to have all those different parts of your website is needed.
Exactly. And I don't see that as necessarily a bad thing. I love that NFTs have matured as well. Yeah, because there's literally so much to do on Solana now. Like if you go to Kyzzen.io and look at my biggest problem with continuing to build Kyzzen.io is just how congested our navigation bar is. There's just how many different opportunities that are blossoming on Solana. Yeah. So it's really exciting times. But it's also very scary times. Like I can't imagine when I first joined Solana back at the start, 2021. Things were very simple, right? You came in, you spent a couple of days filling on Solana, and yeah, you pretty much can get a rough feel of it. Today, when you come in, it's like holy moly, the learning curve is steeper than ever. So that's our job, right? Our job on Kyzzen is to kind of hold your hand and try and walk you through the process, not just with our explorers, but also our Kyzzen Academy courses.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have the benefit of there being a lot more protocols, a lot like very stiff competition, between protocols, between businesses and apps on Solana. And they're a lot easier to use now, at least to us, right? Like we're not the first time users. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, all right, if you want an NFT, go to Tensor. Everything is right there. You can buy Solana, you can buy whatever NFTs you want. There's lending on it. There's so many things that you can do. But even just kind of getting started for people, they need that first step, and they really need to get over that first hump, right?
Exactly. Like what you just mentioned is perfect, because how would a newcomer even hear about Tensor? Right?
Yeah,
Like they
exactly.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay. So one thing that you mentioned there. All right. So when you thought of Kyzzen, right, and like the total reordering of how you're going to do it, the two most important things were, people want to make money, and then they want to explore like if they can make money. But I think that there's like another part to that too. When people are new and they're investing, or they're investigating like where they're going to put their money, they always go after like, they're coming towards the end of like the current meta, right?
Yep.
Like people come in towards the top of the meme coin meta, and they buy the top, and then it goes down. So it's like,
Yep.
it's such a hard thing to do. Like you're not going to be able to talk anybody out of buying that, right? Like you almost like, people almost have to kind of like, I don't know, think of it as like tuition a little bit when they come in, because what everyone's doing, what everyone's talking about on Twitter, what you're hearing about the most is like, that's a meme coin that everybody that's talking about is up, Exxon or something along those lines. So it's, you still have to have all that information for them, but it's also a weird thing because you don't want to recommend it. to them, right? Like, I don't know
Right.
what your philosophy is there, but that's always the
Okay.
hard part. That's always the hard part that I have when I'm like
You
shilling my bags or something is like, whatever I'm talking about, I've owned for a while, right? It's tough.
So you bring up an excellent point because this is I think one of the most misunderstood things about Kyzzen. So we actually just released our About Us page. I have not announced it, but I kind of want to make it easy for people to understand like what we're trying to do, because when you first come to the platform, there's so much that is kind of hard to understand from the get-go. So the About Us page outlines our new vision and mission, which is to basically empower users with the knowledge and opportunities to achieve financial freedom on Solana and beyond, right? And the two keywords here, other than knowledge and opportunities, is financial freedom. And that is a very, very different concept from something that every crypto degen loves to call generational wealth. So Kyzzen is not here to give you generational wealth. We're not here to point out tokens that will give you 1,000x. There are plenty of platforms that purport to do that, right? We're not one of them. What we're trying to do here is trying to show you that there's so much other opportunities in the space that are not necessarily speculative, that you don't have to risk your hard-earned savings, that it's easy to take advantage of and help you sustain yourself in the ecosystem, whether it's the bull market or the bear market. Doesn't matter what meta it is. DeFi yield is DeFi yield, right? Deep in opportunities are deep in opportunities. Doesn't really matter what meta it is. Whereas in meme coins, it's dog season, or it's like, and there are a lot of platforms happy to do that. So we don't have any value add in that area. What we are here to show you is so much other stuff, and that's why actually our primary target audience is actually the ones from Asia, from LATAM, where all these opportunities may be small for some people, but actually are very meaningful to a lot of us here in Asia. Because remember the time where pay to earn was the meta, right? And how many people will stop driving their Uber cars because they were making more money playing a game than driving people around the whole day, right? And there are so many other kind of opportunities here. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that is the key difference, that if you're coming here for generational wealth, nobody in the space, even the top traders and the top influencers, nobody can help you do that, right? That comes only by fully diving into the space, building your network, doing your homework, being very strategic, being very careful in the way you manage your portfolio, right? No one can tell you that this is going to go up with absolute certainty unless they're insider trading, right? There's no way. But if you want to learn how you can get financial freedom, I'm not saying that we can get it to you, right? And we're not giving you any financial advice. We're just pointing out to you that there are some opportunities here and how you can take advantage of them, right? In ways that you don't necessarily have to risk your capital. Yeah. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot there. I love what you're talking about. And I think that this is the direction that I'm hoping Solana is moving in towards now, where it's, better assets on chain are coming on chain, right? We're seeing more RWAs, we're seeing stocks come on. And even I would say the best example of this is actually just stable coins, right? Like the stablecoin use case is very simple. Like you said, Latin America, a lot of them are, very used to using stable coins because it's a better option than their current currency, right? So I think that is like the way that I see us moving is people are going to be using blockchains more because there's better assets for them to be holding. And, for a platform like yours that's going to show them properly how to onboard them, how to use a wallet, how all of this actually works is going to really benefit people. I mean, it opens up the stock market to anybody that has a wallet pretty much, right? Where that's not necessarily the case for everywhere. So I'm really excited about that. It's a financial freedom, not necessarily, you're not going to 100x everything, but that puts you in the place for where, you can start building your wealth in a real solid way on chain.
Absolutely. And it's great that you brought up stable coins, because stable coins is one of those things where newcomers come in and they learn about stable coins for the first time, and they'll be like, wait, so it's pegged to a fiat currency, so there's no upside here. And that's not true, because so many of these new stable coins offer you the incentive for you to provide liquidity, for example, right? When you lend, that they incentivize it with their own tokens, they do airdrops, there's questing, there's opportunities out there that is not so may not be so obvious upfront. And that's our job, right? We try and find what these opportunities are, and that's where the real, I guess, alpha is.
Yeah. I mean, at least for me, it's like the opportunity for yield on stable coins is, it's significant. It's like 100x the yield versus what I can get at any savings account, right? Like maybe not 100x. That's a pretty big jump, but like it's significantly larger, what you can get for stablecoin yield than you can in like a dollar savings account.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, that benefits everybody, right? So that's just like a clear cut example. But it also, I mean, at least the way that I think of it too is, you want to be in the space, understanding how things work, like, have some money on chain and then try out different protocols, see what you like, see, what people are doing. Cause there is so many different things that you can be doing. Like some people love DeFi and other people don't touch it, right?
Right.
It's what you like. If there's a good community for an NFT platform or a good NFT project and you like the people that are in it, you're going to stick around there, right? There's great communities to be in. But not all of them are for everybody. So there is a little bit for everyone out there, right?
Exactly right. It's like obvious who the meme coin maxis are, who the NFT maxis are, who the DeFi maxis are, who's here just for DPIN. And I like to bring up something. When I was first, I guess, drafting the new direction of Kyzzen back at the start of the year, and where I kind of accepted that, okay, we're going to change this to opportunity aggregation platform. And I was actually waiting for my flight back in Dubai, and I was at a cafe and I took out my sketchbook and I was like, okay, let's see how far we can go down this rabbit hole. And I started writing down every single way that I could think of on the top of my head. I was there for 3 hours. I was writing down and just like all the different ways that I could think of, right? We're making money on DPIN, making money on meme coins, making money on NFTs, lending NFTs, raffling NFTs, pre-sale whitelist, blah, blah, blah. But then I realized that it honestly doesn't matter which sector you're looking at, because the ways, like I came up with over 100 different ways I could think of, right, on a piece of paper, right? Because I've been in the space for a long time. And I realized that you can actually categorize them into around 6, 7 different ways to make money, actually. And you think about it, like I'm gonna go on a tangent here, but I think this is very useful for listeners to kind of process and understand how they can have a different perception of what it means to make money on crypto. Instead of thinking along the lines of meme coins, art, NFT, DeFi and stuff, think about the fact that crypto, in essence, is about cryptocurrency, right? And all these projects, whatever project is in cryptocurrency, most of them have the ultimate aim of launching their own cryptocurrency. Do you agree with that statement, Thomas? Almost all projects, other than infrastructure players, right? But most consumer apps or dApps, or they will likely at some point launch their own cryptocurrency. And
Yeah,
if you
I would
accept,
say, yeah, I'd probably say 95% of projects at least, right?
so if you accept that premise, then the ways that you can make money is actually quite simple. First step, there's the pre-TGE, right? Getting in on the whitelist or the pre-sale, blah, blah, blah. The second step is the TGE itself, trading around the TGE, correct? Third step is about your and you can trade on perpetuals as well, post-TGE. The third step is about lending, right? There's liquidity provision, there is questing, there is airdrops, right? And pretty much all the ways to earn money in the space is basically within these 6, 7 categories. Whether you're in gaming project as well, before the TGE, they will, there's like, beta testing, blah, blah, blah. We can get airdrop at TGE. Then there's the TGE itself where, you trade tokens for maybe governance or utility in the in-game economy. And after that, you get, incentives for providing liquidity or lending the token. And, and it's the exact same thing with meme coins, right? Like, you're going to get on Pump.Fun, get in early, and then you do, it's like, no matter what sector, the process is the same. And if you accept that, I promise you, your life will be a lot easier, because you no longer see the space just in terms of sectors, which it's actually hurting most of us, right? The fact that, oh, I only like meme coins, I don't look at other sectors, at detriment to yourself, because the way to make money is the same, right? Why limit yourself? Why deny yourself the opportunities out there? Yeah, so that's just something that I thought, yeah.
No, I think that's good. And you know what? I think that's actually something Tolly talks about a lot, right? He kind of like simplifies everything to like its easiest state, maybe like too much and in like a little bit of like a trolling fashion a lot. Sometimes when he's arguing with, people on ETH, they're, talking about all this stuff. And he's like, you know what? It's all just tokens. It all comes down to tokens. When you really look at it, when you really look at what people are doing in crypto, he's like, it all kind of revolves around tokens. And, something like Pump Fund comes along and they make it as easy as possible to launch a token. And look, it's the number one revenue generating app across all of crypto, or, that versus Hyperliquid kind of goes back and forth. But ultimately, it all comes down to tokens, right?
I have a different take. It
We
all
do.
comes
Okay.
down to, it doesn't come down to tokens. It all comes down to the fact that everyone wants to make money, and they don't really care which tokens they get. They don't care that you're launching a token. You can incentivize them in USDC or some shitcoin. They don't care, right? They just want to get paid. And that's another interesting thing that kind of led to the new Kyzzen as well, was because it's shocking. It's shocking how there are two different parties here in the crypto space, right? Everyone, all the retail users who are looking to make money, and all the projects that want to give you money for participating in their protocol, for blocking some TVL, to give you airdrops for they do quests and all that stuff. So it's quite funny to me, to be honest. Why is it so difficult for both parties to meet? Because one party wants to get rewarded and one party is trying to reward people, and you have no idea. We do this Twitter space, like the last 34 Twitter spaces, where I had over 140 Solana projects featured this year alone. And you have no idea how many of them, are pinging me about like, oh, we have this contest, but we're not getting the traction that we want. I'm looking at the contest, I'm like, you literally, and some of them are hilarious. Some of them like, we're doing paper trading competition, right? There's no loss here. And, and rewarding users. If they just can't get the people to come in, there's no visibility. And that's another one of our roles here, is to kind of matchmake, right? The projects that do want to incentivize users and the users that want those incentives, which is basically all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's extremely well said. I always say like, all right, using protocols early is like the best way to not only like figure out what's going on in the industry, but like if you're going to be launching a protocol in crypto, you are likely going to be incentivizing use by giving rewards. Like you don't know exactly what the rewards are going to be, but what you said is that's 100% correct. And it's a balance, right? Like, has anybody done it, completely the right way? I'm not sure, right? There's many different ways, as long as the way that you're incentivizing, basically like a trial period where it's like, hey, if you come use my protocol, you provide liquidity. Not only are we a great protocol that, we want you to keep using, but we will reward that early usage. And there's unique ways of doing it, right? Like we have tokens, they have like boosted yield that they can do. And there are many different ways to do that. But that's, one of the most profitable things that I've ever done in crypto was just like be an early user to a bunch of Solana protocols and keep using them. And then all of a sudden, there's like really good airdrops that came from just using it, where it's like, I wasn't necessarily like farming airdrops. I was just using these protocols to see what they were doing. And then, the back end came some really good airdrops off of it.
Yeah, like one advice, piece of advice I have for our listeners is that things in the crypto world work very, very weirdly. A lot of opportunities that you think are sure to make you a hell of money don't necessarily play out. A lot of random protocols that you take part in can reward you a lot, right? Like I don't think anyone that stick to G could foresee just how much airdrops you're going to get. Like there was a tremendous amount and sparked off the entire meta of airdrops, right? And meanwhile, like
It was insane. That was the biggest one ever. Like I think I bought like 2 Jito Soul in a wallet, and then you got like $8,000 or more than that
Yeah,
based off
many
that.
people got life-changing money. And meanwhile, like a few months ago, I participated in an airdrop by a very hyped project. I will not name them because only good vibes from me. The resulting airdrop, and I put like 100 SOL in, right? And the resulting airdrop was worth less than the gas fee to claim.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like the best piece of advice I have for you is kind of do as much research as you can because research pays off, awareness pays off, and kind of spread and lay out your portfolio, right? So you don't just concentrate on all the super hyped ones because anyway, the super hyped ones are usually oversubscribed anyway, right?
Yeah,
So just do
exactly.
your proper research, stay safe as always. Stay safety is the first thing. It doesn't matter how much money you make if you're going to get drained anyway, right? So stay safe, do your research, and just spread your portfolio wide, and that is the best way to survive in the space.
Yeah, 100%. Another thing too is like, you get like heavily incentivized to use these protocols really early on, and it's risky. Like if you're providing, a lot of money and liquidity on a new protocol, like that hasn't been battle tested. Like anytime any protocol has, $1 million, $10 million, whatever their TVL is, like that's a honeypot where people are going after that money. Like crypto is very like adversarial, right? So there are people out there that are, poking the edges trying to get to that money. And if they can exploit anything, they will,
Yes. And one thing I'll say to that is that people always say scammers are the enemies of our industry. And I agree to that. But what I would say is that they're not the number one enemy here. The number one and number two enemy that you have in this space is number one, your own greed, and number two, your own carelessness. Those two are your enemies. The scammers can't get your money if you're not greedy and you're not careless, right?
Yeah.
So don't just be like, oh, I got scammed, screw this guy. Like, you have to learn from it, right? Was I too greedy here? Was I careless? Like, what could I have done better and prevent this from happening next time?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. No, I look back and like any like big mistakes, it's like it was mostly carelessness, right? Or like I was trying to make money. I wasn't looking at like I didn't do any research. I threw some soul at something and you know what? It didn't come back. Like that type of thing. It's like where it's like actually like I should have just thought a little bit more. Like that's like what it all comes down to, right?
Yes, and it's believe I think everyone has been there multiple times and more times than we prepare for. But one way to measure greed, find is so I used to spend a few years in the investment industry. So I used to do a lot of stocks trading as well. And very early on, I realized that beyond just the numbers, in my portfolio and stuff like that, I have my own behavioral indicator where if I start losing sleep at night, I'm too greedy, right? If I'm waking up at night and checking my portfolio, that's it, man. I gotta sell some stuff. Like I'm in way too deep, right? You should only invest, the amounts that you can really let go of. If I lost it all tomorrow, I'm perfectly happy because odds are in this phase you will lose everything that you invested tomorrow. So yeah, that's just one piece of advice as well.
Yeah. Well, and it's different for everybody, right? So like you almost have to have like your own personal greed index. Like, first of all, like if you're taking a screenshot of your portfolio, like you should probably sell 10 to 20% at that moment. Like
Right.
that, like no matter what you're doing, maybe even more than that. But like also like for me, it's like once I'm like explaining protocols or explaining things to my wife, like very early on, like I got a lot of the bonk airdrop and, all of
Nice.
a sudden, like early on, the price went up like a ton. And I was telling my wife, I was explaining dog coin. I was explaining how it's going up so much and this and that. And she was just like, this, like, it's a dog coin. Like, why are you doing this? So I sold a percent like right then. And it was the top, it was like the local top of like when it first went up. So I know my greed index and it's,
Right.
it's like screenshotting the portfolio and it's like mansplaining to my wife about
Right.
different protocols or whatever.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's a meme, right? And you see influencers sharing their profits on Twitter, you know they're gonna lose it, right? Because they can't find it themselves to sell. They're in that greedy mode. Yeah, exactly. In fact, like so I wrote the first 40 courses on Kyzzen Academy myself. And one of the first courses I had to tackle was obviously like evaluating projects and how to go about thinking where which projects to invest in, specifically for NFTs. honestly, one of the first tips that we had was know thyself. You have to know yourself thoroughly, like know your behaviors, know the way that you think. Because if you don't know, I'm sorry, but you're in for a rough time. But if you know what your strong suits are, what your weak suits are, you know what you have a proper understanding of, a good fundamental understanding of, and what you don't, that will make your life a lot easier in these days, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because inevitably things will go down, right? So you have to you have to know, what you're willing to stick around on, what you're willing to hold. I feel like people, I don't know. I don't know where you think we're at in the cycle right now, but like, I kind of think we're at we're getting ready to kind of like go up more. So I'm kind of like cautiously just like incredibly bullish, right? Like, I think that we're not quite like at the top yet, but like there's definitely a lot of top sides. But I'm kind of like preparing myself for like, all right, this is what I'm going to do here. Like, I don't want to, get my portfolio too out of whack. I usually keep, like a small amount that I consider like my gambling amount. And it's like, once that gets higher than this much, sell it for Bitcoin or something like that. Like, I kind of have like a plan for what I'm going to do based on like how I think it's going to go.
That's amazing. Like one advice I have for you is tell your wife everything, right? make her someone that will discipline you in the event that that you start to get too greedy.
Yeah.
Like this is the plan, and every day update her like this is the plan, this is where we're at, and if plans obviously change, right? I mean, definitely plans will change, but if you can suffice her and suffice yourself, then odds are that you are making a better decision than you would by yourself. Even like, I mean, we all have friends in the space. And I think that's very important to have friends in the space, right? Not just for like sharing alpha and stuff, but also for mental health reasons, right? People that you can relate to, relate to you, not just in good times, but bad times as well. And yes, always have a sounding board, right? Explain something to someone that, especially like don't ask the generic question like, should I buy or should I sell? No one can tell you that, right? But you can try and sound that out like, I'm thinking of buying more, or I'm thinking of selling, like for these reasons. And that as well is a very useful resource, because these people, I mean, I assume that they know you well enough. If they don't, then why the hell are you talking to them, right? But if they know you well enough, then like they will know more of your behavior, your mentality, and it could be very helpful. Unless they're absolute degens, then I'm sorry, you gotta find new friends.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really, really well put. I mean, because at the end of the day, how many people in crypto are like, registered financial advisors that are used to, managing like extremely volatile assets and like having like a well-structured portfolio. It's like, a lot of what we do is like considered like extremely risky to just own a bunch of Solana, right? Like that would be a risky thing for anyone to recommend, where it's like, all right, like, I've got this much Solana, this much Bonk, this much in meme coins, where it's like, that actually, when you look at it, it's like, that is all extremely risk on, right? Like, it's gotta be balanced.
Yeah, and personally, I have a different take because I came from banking investments. Spent many years in those industries, and I have a lot of like financial advisors friends and investment research friends, and I actually don't rely on these people at all, right? The people I'm looking for are the people who have been burned so many times, have a very intrinsic knowledge of how these projects act, any telltale signs that you can't get by looking at balance sheets and monthly reports, right? These are the people that who have lost so many times that they know better. A financial advisor that's coming into the space and be like, yeah, I used to be one of the best stock pickers in an investment bank, blah, blah, blah. They know nothing, right? In fact, I also know nothing, right? I only have my experience to rely on. So that's, this is my personal take. I'm quite cynical, but yeah, that's just, I'm not saying don't trust your financial advisor friends. I'm not saying that, but you have like, it's not those stereotype people. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's good to kind of like gauge,
Mm.
where you're at and like understand like at least a little bit like the way that they think about risk and like
Yes,
maybe play that in
absolutely.
before you make like a big meme coin purchase or something.
Absolutely. In fact, in the investment industry, like for me, from my experience, stock picking was not the difficult part. It was portfolio management. to be honest.
Yeah,
Risk
exactly.
management. That is what gets you sustainable growth.
Yeah, definitely. So now one thing that I wanted to talk to you about, all right, so like on Solana right now, it's like tokens are kind of everything, right? It's meme coins. And I like that you decided to launch an NFT project. Like it just seems like this is a lot more of like a long term, you're able to give utility to people with something that, people are more likely to hold for a longer time. It's like you're going to be providing an incredible amount of value back to the holders, right? But I feel like it's not the normal way to do this nowadays, right? Where you're kind of taking us back to, things that we used to see, in the earlier Solana days.
Yeah. So this is a very nuanced question. There's a lot of factors at play here as to why I wanted to launch an NFT collection. I'll start with the first reason, which is like my own selfish reasons, right? My own personal desire. So when I first started in crypto, the first thing I did was to join the Solarians community. And this was the first on-chain NFTs on Solana. For those of you who don't know, Solarians started minting in April 2021. It was the second ever to mint on Solana, the creatures being the first. But it was the first on-chain generative collection on Solana. I joined back in, I think, end of April or early May, and I loved it. Like the community there, the vibes was so different, right? Like imagine a FUD-less community. There was no FUD because there's nothing to FUD. There were no enemies. There was creatures and there were us. For 3 months, there's no one else, right? NFT was such a new thing that everyone that came in genuinely wanted to like experience it, explore it. We were sharing what we're having for lunch every day, playing games in Discord. In fact, many of them are still my best friends in Web3 today. So I joined the community. I loved it. I left my job to do one of the first ever community takeovers on Solana. Basically, when the team finished a roadmap, and I want to be very clear here that I need to credit the team where it's due, because when the team first decided to launch an NFT project, this was so early on, right? And they came up with a roadmap that was crazy extensive. Like if you look at roadmaps today, right, they are really soft, they're really short. This team had a crazy long roadmap, which they kind of completed by the end of the year. Pretty much, not all of it, but most of it. At least the reasonable ones. I mean, before you launch a project, you can have a lot of great ideas. Some don't pan out. That's fine. But they pretty much finished it, and then the community, and they said they were done, right? And the community is like, okay, where's roadmap 2.0? And they were like, what roadmap 2.0? Like, no, we launched an NFT project based on this roadmap, which we finished. And so I was like, well, I have other ideas for where this project can go, right? Because we have a great community, quite decently funded. And so I led the community. I actually handpicked, I think, 4 people to join my team from the community as well. And we took over the team, where we continued to build out the project for another 2 more years. So I was one of the first community managers ever. I led one of the first CTOs before CTOs were even a thing.
Yeah.
In taking over Solarians, the team actually also built Digital Eyes, the first open NFT marketplace on Solana. That was launched in August 2021. This was before Magic Eden or Tensor.
Yeah.
This was right after Solana Art, which was a curated NFT marketplace. Ours was open,
I
right?
love Solana art. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still friends with the team from back then. So I took over Digital Eyes. I was one of their original teammates, and when they wanted to step back, I was like, I can see like the potential of this platform. So at the start of 2022, literally, I think the 1st of January 2022, I took over both teams and separate teams, right? So Digital Eyes, I actually restructured the entire team because I wanted to stop focusing on trading. By the time we had Magic Eden, we had like 20 marketplaces in the space. I told my team that, you know what, trading is not an issue to solve anymore. The big issue is onboarding and education. Even until today, onboarding education is still our biggest problems, right? Like Kyzzen, unfortunately, still hasn't made a dent in that issue, and that's what we want to do. But I told them that I wanted to focus on onboarding education, and we created Kyzzen. And through that time, for next 2 years, 3 years, I was still working a lot on Solaris, helping build out the project with the limited resources that I had. I took on the Singapore ambassador role for Monkey DAO, and I just looked at the NFT space, looked at all the new founders and the old founders, like what you're doing, the mistakes they made, the experiments they're doing. And back to the original question, it's partially selfish because I always feel like I really want to experience that. I feel like I could come in here with a different angle, experiment with things that I've always thought were worth experimenting, but I don't have my own project, right? I feel there's a lot of untapped potential for NFTs and our space that I really want to try. I might make mistakes, right? Like no one's perfect, but I feel like I need a chance to see if I can push the space a little bit further. So that's the selfish reason. Practical reason is because at Kyzzen, we do a lot with analytics, and we pretty much finished our base build for exploration, discovery, and onboarding, aggregating most of the basic opportunities in the space. And we started working on really advanced analytics and alpha. And a lot of these is regarding your own portfolio or alpha sourcing and notifications and optimizations. Some of them are really too advanced and complex and intensive that we can't offer at scale. We can't do 100,000 profiles and like give you this kind of top level, like high performance products for free. At least we can only do maybe 5,000 in real time. So to me, it came down to, do I think that even if people were willing to pay for it, can I do it sustainably? I think it'd be a stretch, especially if we're talking about data, it's always about uptime. The safer route would be to confine this to a controllable size of maybe 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, at least a controllable size that we can, perform at the highest level. Right? So we decided that NFT gating it was probably the best, the most practical way. Instead of maybe we have up to 10,000 accounts that we will charge you $25 per month, monthly. To us, it's very simple. It's not so much about the costing, it's about the delivery of the experience of these tools. So yeah, we figured that, we can do it. And we also want to if we wanted to provide those services, it should go to the community of users that support us the most as well. So NFTs as well can help build the community. I think all in all, NFTs, even though it's not the best time to launch an NFT project, it just makes sense to us. Let's just do it, right? Let's see what happens. Even if we have to start from ground zero, let's just do it because it's the only part that makes sense here. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it seems like you have so much experience in the NFT space and, combine that with Kyzzen, it actually just makes a ton of sense. I think that rather than just launch a coin and be like, hey, maybe this is a sink, you pay some of the coin to use it. It's you can build a real community with your NFTs and offer really good services to them. So I like it. I think it's fantastic. I'm excited to see what you do with it.
Thanks, Thomas. Yeah, I think the biggest difference as well, for me, is the kind of community that it attracts. Because if I launch a token, I'm not saying that I won't launch a token, but if I did launch only a token, it will bring in the people who just want to trade around the token, right? The NFT community by nature is a lot it's a lot more different in nature. They're a lot more fun. And I think a big reason why, and I've said this on Spaces many times, is because different from meme coins and tokens, NFTs, by the nature of their non-fungibility, offer an additional identification layer within a community. So you are a monkey holder, right? SMB holder. I'm an SMB holder. When I see your pro picture, I get excited, right? I'm like, oh shit, you have some cool traits, man. I have a business monkey as well as my PFP. And even though we're all monkeys, we kind of identify differently, right? We have our own unique identity. And I think that also leads to why it's more fun, why trading is more fun. There's the concept of rarity and all that stuff. So to me, it was a lot more, again, selfish, but it's a lot more fun to have an NFT community than purely a token one.
Yeah, it just seems like a better, I think that this is going to be kind of like what the direction that, projects should go, right? The worst thing that I see, something that I don't know how you would necessarily fix this, but like if there's like a really good protocol, really good business, and they're doing great, and then they launch a token, they get the tokenomics wrong, and then the token, it just goes down 90% and it sits there and their token looks bad, but the business is still doing great. Like it's hard because you can't necessarily like directly tie the value of the business into the token because that would be a security. So there's like, you don't want to get in trouble with the SEC by offering, like a direct security. So you have to have like buybacks or, like ways to, buy the token back or some sort of burning mechanism in order to do that. But it just seems like such a mismatch. I don't know, what's going to fix that. Maybe just allowing companies to give out, actual securities. Maybe that's the way through it. But some of the tokens that are out there just are like a stain on some of the better companies that are out there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a lot to unpack here. Like the first one is it happens more often than we all like. How frequent these projects that are onto a good thing just for some reason make a mistake in the tokenomics. I think more often than not, it's because they kind of rush the planning, not necessarily rush the launch, but rush the marketing deliverables. Because the moment you see something on Twitter, it's bound by law. like, like people are gonna
Yeah.
hold you to it. So the moment you say something, we can't recant it easily. It's ways to see how many protocols fell to this situation. But also with regards to regulations, I think it's a very fine balance that most of these protocols are finding themselves having to walk, right? I'm not a lawyer, so whatever I say is not advice. For me, I'm Singaporean. For those who don't know, like for my accent, I think it's quite obvious. So I'm always playing on the safer side. I'm always like, what is the regulations? And if any of you listening wants to join my community, you have to know this upfront, right? I'm very by the book, right? It's my nature, it's the way I was brought up. Yeah, there are regulations, and regulations are there for a good reason to protect you, right? Regulations might seem hyper aggressive, but they more often than not have your interest at heart. That might limit the way that you are able to gamble, right? But know for a fact that your ability to gamble is not in anyone else's interest. Fortunately,
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately, no one really wants to help you gamble more, and that is a fact that you have to accept in a space. So I like it when protocols play on the safe side because it just tells me that the team is knowledgeable and they have a long-term mindset, uh, already built in. Yeah. So my preference is, even though it might not be as exciting, I kind of appreciate that they did the homework, they're listening to external advice, and they are trying their best to stay within the confines of the law, like as they should. Like, yeah, I'm not supportive of any protocol that's like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the founders who say that, they don't stay long.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. It's becoming, I think that more regulations will come out and they'll become clearer, at least in the US and hopefully everywhere. But yeah, I mean, you definitely would rather be on the safe side on this than just YOLO it out in the wrong fashion, right?
And I think that's why this cycle has been more fun than I expected, because um without going too much detail, but I think everyone knows the kind of upheavals are happening political wise, right? In the landscape
Yeah.
there. And that's why this This cycle has been a lot more volatile. It has been a lot more surprising. And I guess for the degens among us, that's good because volatility is where, it's where a lot of degens can make their money. I mean, I'm not a degen, so, but it's very interesting. And especially this cycle, I think more than the last cycle, it has been so much more important to pay attention to the news. Not just like rate cards, but also like executive orders and lawsuits and ETF approvals and the wars. Like the last cycle, I was pretty much trading just based on, every time China bans crypto, sell.
Yeah.
Every time Elon Musk tweets something on crypto, buy. It's pretty linear.
Yeah,
This
yeah. Well,
cycle,
this cycle has been, I mean, if you look at like all of the regulation, like at
yeah,
least in the US side,
yeah,
that's where I am. So, where I'm focused on is like it's all been like incredibly bullish, right? Like
yes,
all lawsuits against, I mean, there was like formal lawsuits against every big company pretty much that was operating crypto in the United States. All of those have been dropped. Some of them were probably legitimate, right? Like, but all of those have been pretty much dropped. ETFs fully approved. We have like companies on the stock exchanges just loading up with Bitcoin in their treasury, like loading up with ETH now. And now we're seeing that move to Solana. Like, I feel like the like regulatory environment and everything that was kind of in the way. And I think that like Solana particularly was being held back by a lot of the regulation, right? Like, first of all, it was named a security in like the Coinbase lawsuit, but also like a lot of the utility and a lot of like the businesses that are building on Solana, like we're running into a lot of issues. So it's like Solana, because it's fast, there's a ton of teams building around it. Like there were businesses that were being built in the US where they couldn't have a bank account. They couldn't do a lot of things that you need to function as a normal business. I feel like a lot of those regulations have been blocked. Like the full, like the implications of that, right? Like I think that, as these regulations are gone, as more money is available to come to it, like come to the ecosystem, like I think we're going to see things like really escalate in the next year or two, just for those reasons, right? Like, macro reasons aside, whether rates get cut or not, I think for that alone, like there's just way more people that can access it, and businesses are now like moving to the US versus offshore, right?
yeah. It's definitely a very interesting time. I don't want to get to politics, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
suggest we move on. Yeah, because I'm not based in the US, so I don't want to come across as someone from outside just speculating on US politics. But what all I can say is that the fact of the matter is the US takes a leadership position. The SEC, the Federal Reserve, takes a leadership position in the way that the crypto cycle pan out. So yeah, for anyone coming into crypto, know that it's not just whether your tokens go up or down. There are macro factors at play that have been more significant than ever before.
Yep. That actually raised a good question. Like what is like, have there been like better regulations for crypto in Singapore, or I guess in like Asia in general? Like how has that been? Like and you don't need to get too political. I just don't even actually know, and I should.
As a Singaporean, I will refrain from commenting on the regulations in Singapore. What I do know, one thing I'm very positive about, word on the ground, is that Vietnam is opening up, which is huge because they are a huge dev resource, especially for Solana. So the fact that Vietnam itself is opening up bodes very well. I mean, Super Team Vietnam is huge. Monkey DAO Vietnam is huge as well. A lot of Solana builders are based in Vietnam. I think Japan as well. The Solana community is building up, but I'm not very certain on how the regulations are there. But I think, unfortunately, the politics and regulations of it seem to always shift with the cycle for some reason.
Yeah.
So now that we're in a bullish cycle, the governments are more, I guess, incentivized as well. Not saying incentivized, but more, it deserves more of their attention, I would say, right? To look at what's happening in crypto and try and find a way. I think all governments are doing the same thing, trying to find a way where they can help their country benefit from the situation, but still keeping their citizens safe. And that's
Yeah.
something I respect.
Yeah. Which is not easy to do, right? I mean, we're dealing a little bit in the wild west of finance, right? So there are,
100%.
people doing crazy things.
So the onus, honestly, is not in the government's hands, which is the way that most people view things, but rather is in our hands. The way that every one of us, especially founders, especially prominent figures in the industry, the way we act has a direct repercussion on the way the governments react. So the less scams that, or well, the less scams that we support, the less gambling that we do, right? Reckless gambling, right? Gambling's okay. I mean, to really, I mean, okay, I'm not gonna scratch gambling, scratch that. I'm gonna say that. I'm just gonna say that it's really, if we are able to show that the space has matured somewhat in the last sustainable span of time, I think things will get easier for us, right? But you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't want to be fully degen and then go crying to your regulators about how you got scammed. It doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, it's always moving, but it seems like in general, right? Like it's things are opening up. So I'm very excited about that. Now, one of the things that I want to talk to you about is just the spaces that you put on. So these are fantastic. So I love doing these spaces. If anybody listening hasn't tuned in, you do a space Tuesdays and Thursdays and you pull an amazing crowd and there's like awesome guests. Like, can you tell me a little bit about like how you got started with this? Like how do you even put these together?
On the spaces? Right. It's,
Yeah,
well, I think one thing that, so we've done Kaizen Academy for quite a long time,
yeah,
and text-based education is is one way of teaching people. But a lot of times people, you know, they prefer other means of communications, right? And so Twitter Spaces, especially with Twitter being such a central platform for the whole of crypto, just made sense to us. And because we are such big OGs in the space, having been one of the earliest platforms and founders in the space, it has been honestly more easier than I thought to reach out to projects and be like, hey, like we're doing a Twitter space. Would you want to join? And the early days was quite tough, right? Before we started getting like good viewership. But yeah, sooner than I expected, it started becoming really satisfying. And I think that attests to the earlier point that I made about how many projects need and want visibility. Whether they're offering money or not, like or incentives or not, but every project in the space is starving for visibility. There's just so much noise. And so Kaizen, we try our best. We might not always be able to do so, but we try our best to kind of pick out the projects that we think have the most unique insights to help educate you on that topic itself. For those of you who have never joined a space, there are 6, 7 different topics, right? We have sector topics like DeFi, DePIN, AI, NFTs. And then we also have general topics like, builders in Solana. We have like the state of Solana for current affairs. We have Solana community where we just vibe. So there's about 7 topics that we rotate across an entire month. And we try our best to find like the best subject matter experts to come on these spaces. Yeah, I mean, 140 projects in 34 spaces. I think it tells you how many projects are not just on Solana, but just like how popular Twitter Spaces is a medium.
it's fantastic. Well, it's like it's I don't know. It's not like advertising. It's like a community building experience because you're basically like proving your value. You're talking about what your like whole platform is about, right? Like onboarding to Solana, come to Kyzzen, but also if you just want to hear about these projects from the founders, join us in a space. Like it's such like a perfect match.
Yes, and what's more heartening than how well the space has been doing and how many projects have been signing up, is the fact that we used to start. I started the spaces with So Maniac, who's a great guy. I love the guy. But when he wanted to take a step back, I was like, okay, I need to find a new host to help out with these Twitter spaces. And it was very heartwarming to see just how many volunteers came. I mean, you volunteered, Thomas. I really appreciate that. Thibaut came up. We had people like SMS, Solana Easy, Simple, and Trey and Treats from Caps Roposa. Like many people actually stepped up and said that I want to volunteer to help out with this educational initiative because it clearly has a positive impact on the wider community. Like it's something that we need and we deserve. Like, let's do it. So that to me really, really was very heartwarming. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you put on a great space. And it's like, what I always want to do with these spaces is like, there's so many cool people talking and they're talking about so many cool things. I want to like take that information, right? Like it's really hard to pull data off of a Twitter space and then it gives you in like a really hard file to actually use. So it's like my dream is to get those like these awesome spaces and like be able to like get a transcript out and have like a inventory of these companies and what are different protocols and what they're doing. And it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like there's something more there, but it's great.
It's very humbling as well. Especially the more technical conversations that you get with like AI and DeFi. Sometimes the host just text me while on the space. Omi, are you gonna speak? I'm like, I have no value add in this conversation. Like you guys just continue, man. Like and always walk away learning something. Even for me, I usually think that my crypto knowledge is pretty decent. But I walked away from every space having learned quite a few things that I wouldn't have benefited from, which is great. Which is why even though I don't speak that much on the spaces, I always attend it. I always host it because I want to be there. I want to hear from these guys that I've invited personally to join our space, right? And I think, I mean, if the listeners do check us out once in a while, I promise you that you have a good time.
Yeah. They're so good. I feel like I love getting into those conversations where like I don't know everything about it, and I think it's actually valuable for a lot of these founders to have to like explain it to somebody that doesn't fully understand DeFi or talk about it like almost to somebody that doesn't know anything about it, right?
Yep. 100%. And in fact, one of the first tools that I built that was quite simple actually. I designed a tool that aggregates most of the top Twitter spaces in Solana. And now it's like the broader crypto community. And my two favorite spaces. So I'm going to do a shout out here. My two favorite spaces are Crypto Ape, who's a good friend of mine. Crypto Ape does a weekly Twitter space on Wednesdays. I think it's at 3 or 4 p.m. UTC. He always has a stellar cast of panel on the topic. So you check them out as well. The second one is the Bodolo's team, the Daily Bone podcast, which is my go-to. Every day I go to the gym, I'm always listening to it for an hour. Very, very good commentary on the state of the market and all the different opportunities as well. Like these two are my favorite.
Is that the one that like Easy?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, they've been doing that they were doing that for so long.
Easy, Swish Nick, there's like Clemente, Peel. Yeah, the whole gang, man. Yeah. I really enjoy it.
I used to listen to that like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 years ago when there wasn't like any good podcast. There wasn't that much like content on Solana. So I'd listen to that. It was on at like 5 a.m. and then there was another one at like middle of the day. It was fantastic. I need to get back into that.
They're still going at it. Yeah, it's going strong. I still listen to it every day, every weekday. Yeah. This is a good one.
Okay. So this is kind of what the reason why I started my podcast was like, I'm kind of like a boomer in the sense that like I want to hit pause in the middle of a conversation, or like I can't tune in every day at 5 a.m. or whenever. Yep. So I was, all right. First of all, like the timing was kind of tough. And then second of all, it's like a lot of the information that they're talking about like changes, right? Like they're talking like real time. Like it used to be like, all right, we've got an NFT launch. This is happening. And then they'd have their space later in the day and they'd have to like correct themselves on what they said. So I was like, all right, like that, it's not like the best, like I'm sure it's changed in there. It's like a lot better, but it was like, all right, like, why am I listening to this twice if they're just gonna like change the information? It's like, all right, like what if I just like put together something and like actually research some stuff and like you don't have to retract anything. So that was like kind of like the premise of my podcast. And there wasn't anybody else that was really doing a Solana podcast.
No, I respect that because as well, if you're the host, you get to ask the questions that no one else thought to ask, right? And questions that you genuinely want to know the answer to, which you should because you're the host. And I really admire what you do because going alone at it, I can't imagine. Like with me, I think I've help from you guys, right? The whole the host. For you, I'm just really impressed like how you manage to source your speakers and just continue to push this. Like in education, it's not like we all win together. Like we're not competitors. Like I would support, whoever that wants to do a podcast, who wants to do a blog article, who wants to do a course. Like we all benefit together for sure.
Yeah, definitely. No, and it's fun for me, right? Because I get to talk to cool people like you that are building awesome things. So it's
Thank
fun
you.
for me.
Yeah.
Cool. That sounds good. All right. Now, I mentioned before, and we don't have to go too deep into this, but like there's other like streaming services that are coming up. Like Pump Fund has streaming, Bonk is partnering with Kick. Like I feel like that's kind of like the new thing where there's like the creator capital markets and somehow they're supposed to monetize their stream, but it's with a token. So I don't really know how they actually get paid. Like, is that something that you have looked into at all? Like, I don't imagine you leaving Twitter Spaces, but like, is that interesting to you at all?
So before I get into it, two things that everyone needs to understand. Number one, I'm a bore. I'm I I understand the attention economy. I'm not I'm not so hyped up about that. And number two, I don't do a lot of streaming, so I'm not particularly well versed in the intricacies of that nature of the market. But everyone should understand that crypto, unfortunately or fortunately, is predominantly based on attention. I feel that in itself, there are experiments that are worth trying out. There are innovations that I can get behind and I'll be keen to see the results of. I just have very little faith that the space can conduct itself in terms of streaming in a responsible manner. That's my like one thing to know about me. I'm very direct, right? I am just I don't know. I mean the last not even last cycle, like early in this cycle, people were like locking themselves up in cages. I think there were a few people that killed themselves on streams, whether it's for attention or for the money. Like it, it's a very tough one to comment on.
Yeah.
Generally, I feel like if you're investing in something because you're looking at a stream, I don't know how to tell you whether it is a good way to invest your money.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying no because I do want to say no, but I'm not a financial advisor, but beyond that, I have no right to tell anybody in the world how to spend their money. But if you are looking at a stream and you're throwing money at it, I mean, it's tough.
Yeah. So let me, sorry to interrupt. Yeah. So I've been
No.
thinking about this a lot, right? Like I was like, I think that there is a really big opportunity if somebody gets it right, right? Like somewhere between like pump fun, like pure brain rot, and like the other side would be like Zora on base. It's kind of like everything's a small coin. Zora doesn't really make sense, and pump fun's kind of too crazy. Like the idea, I feel like the ideas is somewhere in there is something really cool. Like I don't know what it's going to be. And I don't think that just having a token and then streaming makes sense, but also I don't understand why people normally would tip. I guess it's a normal thing, like in Twitch or in Kick or whatever, like people are actually like making payments in there too. So people are doing it not in crypto. Like why wouldn't they do it with crypto? I guess. I don't know.
So that's why I say I'm a boomer. I've
Yeah.
trouble reconciling these principles and facts of the industry, I would say, because my hot take is I'm not with the whole tokenize everything principle here. Like this whole cycle has been tokenize everything, right? I am not personally, I'm not a fan of it. I feel like you should tokenize something insofar as it presents a use case or some value. Not everything is worth tokenizing. I mean, if I farted, can I tokenize that? I mean, does it make sense? No, there is a line, right? Sorry to be crude, but literally that's the best example I have. Like, you can't tokenize everything. And if you are someone that looks at all tokens, I think you're going to have a very, very rough time. I think there is opportunity here if you are able to convince yourself and convince your portfolio, more importantly, that you are able to pick winners sustainably from streaming, right? You are able to identify the meta, the kind of which I cannot really comment on because I don't have a skill, right?
Yeah.
There are friends that I know that may have the skill, and I respect them for it because it's research in a sense. Like, research is not just all papers and stuff, right? It's spending a lot of time and effort trying to understand something. That's what research is, right? That's why when people say DYOR, I feel like there needs to be a better way of saying DYOR, because the moment you say DYOR, it always translates to reading white papers and doing like tokenomics studies and stuff like that. No, DYOR means taking the time and effort to try and understand something and deciding if something is worth investing or not. So while I'm not a fan of the tokenize everything meta, while I'm not a fan of the streaming meta, I do acknowledge that there could be some alpha there, right? There could be some competitive advantage that you could develop. I have no right to say that there isn't. But for me, back to our early conversation about knowing thyself, I will stay out of it. Because one thing that everyone needs to understand is that there are a lot of different opportunities out there, right? Like, I can easily let go of this. Right? I don't have to force myself to understand this because there are other opportunities out there that I can focus my time on that I understand better. And yeah, that's another caution against meta chasing, right? Don't go chasing butterflies when you have no idea, how to differentiate them. Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. So I'll admit that's like a pretty personal question because I feel like I feel like there's something there, and I feel like just like monetizing audiences in general is like an interesting topic because you look at like the top podcast and they're
Yeah.
taking ads and they'll do an ETH protocol for a Solana podcast or something along those lines that just like has no alignment with their listeners, but they're just taking the money,
No,
right?
there's a line to be drawn, I think. Like, if
Yeah,
it's like girl dancing, I mean, even OnlyFans, I mean, like, whatever, man, whatever floats your boat, right? But
yeah,
you have to be very cognizant of the fact that you are here. What are you here for? Are you here to support the creator? Are you here to make money? Are you here because you're bored? I mean, everyone has different kind of prerogatives, right? Like, motives. But I can only speak strictly from the investment point of view that
yeah.
if you're there to look at investments, then you have to develop an edge in identifying, and you have to go through a lot. There's so many streams going on at the same time, right? It's and in these situations, it's honestly mostly fastest fingers first. So can you get to the right stream at the right time to be able to enter a position that will get you maximum yield? I think is the question here. And to be able to do it consistently, right? Because when you're late, you're screwed. When you are, when you make the wrong decision, you're screwed. There's a lot of room for error, which I personally don't like. But I understand why people do it because it's really exciting. I get that, right? It's really, really exciting. It's a lot more interesting than looking at charts on TradingView, right? So I think this is another one of the examples that we talked about experimentation. I'm honestly looking forward to see what happens because, last cycle, there's so much experimentation in a lot of ways that a lot of people didn't agree with, and a lot of people didn't like. But one fact that came out of it was a lot of us became a lot more savvy, like a lot of us, like this cycle is different because a lot of us are from the 2021 cycle. And a lot of the 2017 cycle people learned a lot more in 2021 as well. So the industry as a whole, in terms of the users, in terms of the investors, are becoming a lot more intelligent, a lot more savvy, not just in terms of like meta chasing and all that stuff, but also of themselves. So I encourage experimentation. It's just that this particular topic is not for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one more thing too is like, all right, first of all, I would pay for good content with good alpha. Like I think like that's what it comes down to, where it's like, I don't think everyone would like, so I don't know. I don't know about that, but I also think that people have it like a little bit easier as far as research. Like there is good sites out there like yours. And I mean, even just like AI kind of has like some issues with crypto and you can't look up all the protocols, but like you can ask, ChatGPT, like how a wallet works, or like what's the best way for me to protect my seed phrase. Like I feel like little things like that were like pretty big like ways that stopped people from using crypto. I feel like you can get the basics like pretty quick, right? Where that wasn't the case, right? Like I was buying Bitcoin in like 2016 and it was a disaster. Like if anybody saw like my security, like it was absolutely terrible, and I'm surprised I didn't lose anything, right? Like that's how it was, where now it's like, okay, like you just buy a hardware wallet or you buy a Solana phone, it's kind of like a hardware wallet, or there's multi-sigs everywhere. I feel like there's like, I don't know, there's more products and there's more information. And we do have a lot of people that have kind of been through the cycle. So there's people at least talking about the right way to do it, right?
Right. So one thing I would say about Kyzzen as well is that we don't do research in the normal sense. Like, we are not here to research for you the best tokens, the best opportunities. We don't do research in that sense. What we do is two-pronged, right? The first thing is that we try and find and identify all the different bits of data that is relevant, that is significant, in your opportunity decision-making situation, right? When you're looking at DeFi, for example, what are the bits of information that matter the most? And we present that to you in the most accessible, in the most visually understandable manner, because we trust that you understand what you're looking at. We trust that you're looking at an opportunity, this is the data that is relevant. And on the second prong is education. If you don't know what to look at, that's where the education comes in, right? Which is number one, through the courses, which gives you a very basic layout of what like DeFi youth, for example, how it works and what you should be looking at, as well as Twitter spaces where you get subject matter experts to answer the questions, to give you that leg up in terms of your development, right? But we don't presume to tell you that we're the best researchers in the market, because no one does, right? You go to Wall Street, and honestly, I think if any hedge fund manager is being honest with you, his analysts are going to be wrong 50% of the time, right? All of them,
Yeah.
right? There's no such thing as a good, like, there's no research that caters to you personally, in your strategy, in your portfolio, in your style, right? What we can do is give you a very strong fundamental understanding of how these opportunities and products work, and present to you the best data, right? In the fastest, the most reliable manner that we can. I'm not saying it's always going to be accurate, but we do our best to present to you, and hopefully you can make your decision the fastest, or at least you get to see the information that you want the fastest.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no. So one thing about the NFT holders utility, without revealing too much, is we want to build an experience where you can customize what tailors to you in terms of opportunities, because different people have different. I can give you an example, right? So when you look at NFT lending, for example, back in the early days, right? NFT lending was like you could earn 180% APY, lending at 70% loan to value for like 7 days, right?
It made no sense. It made no sense. It
It
made no
made no
sense.
sense. But it was very inherent, because even within my team, we could identify like I personally am on the safer side. I'm a boomer, right? So I'm just like, okay, I only want to take loans up to 75% APY 7 days, right? But some team will be like, no, there's this 240% APY 14 days, like this is like maybe like Mad Labs, for example, right? Blue chip project, like it's worth the risk. It's like, how do you like research? The same piece of research can be interpreted differently for people, right? The same data can be interpreted differently for different people. And what I find that we have is that we spent the whole of this year aggregating all the data out there. And now for the NFT holders is to create a kind of hopefully customizable experience where you get to decide what you're interested in and create the kind of dashboards and tools that would help you be a lot more efficient as an investor, hopefully, or not necessarily an investor because that involves you risking capital, but to surface opportunities that cater to you more as well. Yeah, yeah. Anyone that can tell you, as I mentioned at the start of the call, that they're going to give you alpha that's going to make you 100x. They are lying to you. I'm sorry. They are lying to you, or they control the market, right? Or they've insider trading. It's not possible. There's something wrong here. That's not us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you kind of have those pieces. And then now, especially with the NFT, it's like you're almost going to be like curating a better community for them to discuss these opportunities. Right.
Exactly.
I think that's the most important. You mentioned this before, but it's like having a community where you can bounce ideas off, or like you can actually like ask intelligent questions. I like to be in chats where I'm like the dumbest person, right? Like the chat that I go to again and again is the Quex chat, right? Like there's like the Nobles chat where there's 20. You have to have like 20 ducks to get in. And when like the conversation gets going and something's happening, it's like there's really, really smart people saying really important things, and I get a lot of knowledge out of it. Like I get more out of that chat than anywhere else. So I feel like that's like incredibly, incredibly important to have that community side, and it sounds like that's what you're building. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree. So I'm only in communities where it's either of two situations. One is where I'm learning a lot, or one is where I feel I'm contributing a lot.
Yeah.
Because I know like there are some communities that are, especially in the onboarding field, right? Like there are a lot of communities to join where it's most people that are like newcomers, not necessarily to the space, but to that community as well. And if I feel like I can contribute, I would stay there. But I completely get what you mean. Like our own personal development is the most important thing, right? If you're thinking about the long term, like all these near term wins honestly don't matter, right? What matters more is understanding how we can thrive in the long run. And we are all early. Like even now, even with Trump as president, we are all early, right? So we don't have to rush. When we do rush, we make the most amount of mistakes. We make a lot of that's honestly, if you have one takeaway from this conversation with me, is don't rush, don't be greedy, and don't be careless. If you can do that, hopefully, if you're lucky, find really reliable friends in the space. Those four things, you're pretty much set.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, playing like, what is it? Play long-term games with long-term people, right? Like you want to be around people that are thinking, ahead. And it's like, it's so hard to do in crypto because there's just so much going on. There's so much news. Every single day is life-changing. You're seeing somebody post, they made $1 million on a meme coin. So you, of course, are going to want to chase that. But in the long term, like none of that really matters. Like the long term is like you protect, protect whatever assets you have, and, stick with like quality assets, and, you are thinking long term. Yes, take some small gambles when you can. We're in crypto, so you have to have fun, right? Like I usually keep like a, burner wallet with a few SOL in, and I'll chuck a SOL at something if it looks like fun. But that's, I'm not making like life-changing, decisions on something that is incredibly speculative, right? So I don't know. I feel like sticking with the long-term mentality, I think there is just an incredible upside in crypto. So even just sticking around is half the battle, right?
Exactly. Unfortunately, most people don't share our mentality, but
Yeah.
and that is I mean, it's human instinct, to be honest. So I can't really comment otherwise on that. I feel you. Like for me, this cycle, like I think one conference that I attended, I'm not sure who was the exact speaker, but one thing he said rang very true was that you make all your money in the bear cycle and you count your money in the bull cycle,
Yeah.
right? That really really resonated with me. It's like if you're not positioned during the bear market already, then right now you're just chasing gains, right? You're risking everything to make something. Yeah. So long term is better. Bitcoin's at 120K. I'm not going to say it's going to go down back to 50K, but from what we know about cycles, it's a possibility. So if you are patient and you manage your risk proportionately, I mean, reserve some liquidity and you'll probably almost definitely find a better buying price on the line. I mean, obviously, Bitcoin could go up to 250K tomorrow and be like, damn it, Omi, you know, I could have went all in. I'm like, yeah, sure. But again, different shows for different folks. And that's honestly very beautiful. Like talking to so many different people in the space, so many different kind of investment methodologies. I think that's what provides the best learning curve. Yeah.
Yep, yep. Like buying in bear markets and selling in bull markets is so hard. But when you mentioned that, like how you have the different sections on your site, right? Like you've got DeFi, DePIN, you got meme coins, NFTs, all these different sections. Like instantly in my mind, people should be checking out the sections that aren't hot right now. Like meme coins, probably pretty saturated right now. You probably don't need to be doing all ton of research on meme coins right now, but like my mind went to like, all right, like what are the hot DeFi protocols, right? Like say this, say this comes back and, it's going to be a DeFi bull market because people are suddenly interested in, fundamentals or something along those lines. It's like, maybe I should brush up on my DeFi and see what the top protocols are and what I don't have exposure to, right? Like that's the kind of like mentality where it's like, all right, you have big potential, in what's not hot right now, right?
Um, on the same note as well, I would say that this is one of the reasons why it's very important to have multiple resources of not just education and updates, but because Kyzzen, I mean, we're a small team, so we can only do that much. I'll give you an example, right? Like, I read a very interesting article the other day. I'm not saying this is alpha, but yeah, even for myself, I'm learning something new every day. The day I was reading an article, I think it was by the Milk Road. I'm not sure, but it was saying something about like, when you look at Solana now with the ETF approvals and the digital asset treasuries they are launching, instead of buying Solana, a potential smarter play could be to buy the protocols that will benefit from all these SOL being stacked up, right, by the ETFs and the digital asset treasuries, because they have to stake or lend somewhere. They have to kind of earn yield from somewhere. So maybe, things like Camino or Jupiter or, that would benefit from the higher TVL. So it's kind of like they asked you, I mean, it might be obvious for you, I don't know, but for me, I was like, oh yeah, that's true, like I've had time to consider that. Yeah. So it's always good to kind of spread your educational resources and updates wide. Yeah. There's a lot of interesting mentalities and thoughts. Yeah. That, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they definitely are. And I like that too because I'll get like too caught up in like one like particular like idea and then you start like liking a certain thing and then you're just kind of like in this like echo chamber of your own making. And
Yes.
you need to get outside of it because,
Yes.
it's way too easy to get caught up in that. And I don't know about your Twitter algorithm, but it's bad these days, right? Like
It is.
I don't see anybody's tweets that I want to, like I don't see much crypto content. It's just insane stuff on there. So it's like, I don't get alpha off Twitter anymore unless I'm in, one of your spaces, obviously. But
I think with all the questing and all the Kaito yapping, somehow, yeah, we have made it too easy for them as well to create bots to kind of dominate the noise. Yeah, which is why I think the toughest thing in crypto is to have the cleaner signals. That honestly is the biggest pain point for us. And that's also the reason why crypto is so powerful, if you think about it, because on-chain data is incorruptible, right? On-chain data is fact.
yeah,
Yeah. So for us, we purely pull from on-chain data, APIs from protocols if we have to, but hopefully that kind of cuts through the noise and with the kind of aggregation that we do, hopefully you get to cut, the noise, right? Like everything is relative. If you see a lot of um attention on a specific protocol, that in itself is not useful unless we compare it with the basket of competitors, right? Are they all going up at the same time? There are a lot of nuances at play. Yeah, that's I think one of the biggest value adds that we do, because we aggregate all this stuff where you're talking about lending USDC, we show you all the best USDC rates, right? Not just like which is the loudest platform. It's like, no, fact. Which lending platform has the best borrow utilization, is always over collateralized, is the most consistent APYs, right? Like fact based on blockchain information. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That sounds good. Man, I could keep going on forever about this, but I love Kyzzen. I love what you're doing. We need to hear a little bit more about the NFT before we go
Sure,
off.
yes.
Like when can I buy one? Am I on the white list? How do people find out more information about this?
Okay, so the team would freak out. So all I'm gonna say is
Yeah.
is that
Don't give
is
away
that
too much.
the whitelist and launch details will come out soon. The whitelist will be very fair. Yeah, like there's not much more I can say beyond that. But anyone that deserves a whitelist would likely get a whitelist. That's all I can say, right? Because I would phrase it this way. We know who we want in a community. We want anyone that supports us in our vision, right? To improve onboarding, discoverability, education on Solana. We want anyone that supports the NFT space, and we want everyone that meaningfully contributes to Solana. So in those three, if you believe that you fall firmly within one of those three, odds are very likely that you will get it. We are not a kind of project that will go for extremely limited supply and like try and, get floor prices up to like 20 so and stuff like that. No, we are, to make it clear again, we are building a lot of tools that we have a very clear understanding of how controlled the group must be. The people who have NFTs will likely, hopefully, really enjoy the experience of the utility that's provided by these NFTs. If you are, especially if you are a Solana maxi, if you are someone that is always looking for opportunities, if you are someone that enjoys data-driven decisions, like this will probably be the most useful NFT for you. Yeah, because we are looking at data and analytics and opportunity, I think, in a very unique perspective, something that I don't see any other platform doing. I mean, if they were doing it, I wouldn't do it, right? Like, what's the value add there? So that's all I can say. And launch details, it'll be a very fair mint. And I think we really know like how we want to execute it, but we just wanna let the wider ecosystem have some breathing room to understand what we're trying to achieve, what the art's gonna look like, what's the utility gonna look like, who the team is, what we're doing, before we try and hype up this thing. I think it'd be very responsible to just do like, oh, we're meeting in 1 week and the whitelist is here and trying to get FOMO. That's not our
Yeah.
intention here. Our intention is understand what Kyzzen is doing, support us, support our partners, support Solana, and if you do, then we want you. Yeah. 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 I mean, to be honest, we've been bootstrapped for 3.5 years, 4 years now, almost 4 years now. Like this is, like for us, it's not so much about raising the money as it is like finding a community of users that will support us, as well as finding a community of users that can actually benefit from what we're building. Because if they don't, then for us, we're more disappointed in ourselves than anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. We spent a lot of effort on this. Yeah, we're gonna be very careful. We're gonna be very fair about this for sure. I'd love to talk to you about the art as well. I think the art is a very unique concept. If you have the time, you have the time?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
we're pushing longer than I said we were going to. So I was
I'm
trying to
so
be
sorry, but
respectful
I'm
of
really
your time.
enjoying this conversation.
No, me too. Keep it
Yeah,
going.
yeah. So regarding the art, I think this comes at the perfect times. From about 6 months ago, I already know, no, actually longer than that, almost 9 months ago, I already saw how many collections were coming to the space, they were purely AI generated, right? It it is a bit sad for me because like I really enjoy NFTs because it supported creators, right? Artists that have always been struggling in the real world, right? They have to find galleries, they have to pay ridiculous fees, they have to do their marketing themselves. Whereas NFTs was like, not only does it offer secondary royalties on chain, not only does it provide a launchpad and marketplace that will, give them visibility and all that stuff. But now AI came in and AI does art pretty good. I think most of us will agree. And I've always been a big fan of artists. I always speak to artists, and I had this debate about why have any of you explored AI as a tool instead of a competitor, right? I went to a Comic Con where I specifically was looking at anime because I'm a big fan of manga art and anime. I went to speak to almost 25 different artists in an Asian Comic Con, right? And when these are arbitrary numbers, but something like 15 artists told me to fuck off when they heard that I was working on NFTs. They were like straight away
Really?
walked away from me. And the
Yeah.
remaining 10, um, like was angry with me for like AI, right? And obviously that those two groups are not mutually exclusive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's tough. I feel like that's always kind of been like there's been a significant pushback against
Yes.
NFTs, right?
Yes. So I like there's obviously this hostility between the two, right? Machine output and human creators. And I really wanted to understand, like, isn't there any value add that AI could, provide? And, coming from NFT space, the way I understand about how art is generated, right? Like you understand, right? It's all different traits drawn and then laid on top of each other back to front. And I was like, okay, there are two very obvious restrictions here. Number one, because traits are layered on top of each other, it means that there's limited variation, right? Let's say you're a tall guy and skinny, right? The polo t-shirt that you're wearing would not fit on a base character like me who's shorter and fatter, right? Like you'll obviously not fit, right? It's not possible. Which means that there are a lot of restrictions on how diverse a collection can be. At the same time, detailing is also an issue, right? Things like shadows, for example. If you had afro hair, the shadow that you create be different from me if I'm a skinhead, obviously, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I think AI really helps because what we did was we commissioned an artist, right, to draw all the traits in the collection, the base characters and everything, right, with different facial shapes and different body sizes. And we trained an AI models purely based on those traits that were drawn, including some finished works. And we created a collection that is completely believable that it was drawn by the same artist in his style, right? Except that it was so diverse, right? 6,000, 7,000 different characters that, of all different shapes and sizes and, Kyzzen no Sekai is, the no Sekai is kind of like a kind of genre in, I'm not sure if you watch anime and stuff, but it's like the other world, right? It's like the world of something. It could be like a virtual reality kind of series, or it could be like another world, a fantasy world kind of thing. But the world of Kyzzen basically is like these are the digital avatars in that world, and we wanted a collection where it's so diverse that there's literally something for everyone. Right? Whatever race you are, whatever size you are, whatever face shape you have, whatever clothes you wear, right? I spent weeks, right, going through like countless blogs and fashion shopping websites, right, to pick out the most relatable accessories and clothing items so that anyone in the world can look at Kyzzen no Sekai and find something that they can like, yeah, that's me. God damn it. That's fucking me. Right?
Yeah.
So what I can say is that rarity will play less of a part because we don't really have extremely rare items, but there will be more popular items by nature. For you, maybe it's polo t-shirt, right? Maybe you wear it all the time, you like it. For me, I always have headphones on. We both have headphones, so maybe like we like the headphones look. So there will be more sought after items, not necessarily rarity items, just because we wanted to make the collection more accessible. But that's kind of my concept for the art, because at a like I keep seeing, polar opposites, right? Either they are AI generated or they are hand drawn. But I wanted one where it was hand drawn but assisted by AI to really push the boundaries of what an NFT can be. So I think, I'm not sure, but I think we're one of the first ones to have like custom shadows for a hand drawn collection. So every character has a shadow behind, which is, I think, the main way where we differentiate from other anime collections out there. It's like every
Yeah.
shadow is different. So you can check out our website at kyzenworld.io, but there are some previews there already. But that is kind of a mentality for the art. And in terms of utility, we look at the average person, how, when it comes to like portfolio managing, what workflows that you might not be conscious of. So I spent a lot of years I spent 4 years in banking and 4 years in the investments industry, right? So I'm not saying I know everything, but I kind of have a fundamental understanding of what it is to manage your own portfolio and to manage investments. I wasn't an investment manager, to put it clearly, but I kind of have an understanding of how that works. So the way I look at it is input output. So input would be like your alpha, right? How do we present alpha to you in a timely manner, right? And I think beyond a doubt, Kyzzen has proven that we can, because we literally aggregate everything across every sector, right? Tokens, NFTs, airdrops, a DPIN, DeFi, like you name it, we have it, right? So we have the data. It's more of how do we get that data to you, right?
Yeah.
So we have alpha alerts, we have portfolio stuff, right? How you manage your portfolio. And within portfolio is very interesting. There are actually different layers that most people might not be conscious of. But for us, the first thing obviously is tracking your portfolio, right? To be able to see a snapshot. Second level is being updated on portfolio, on changes with the portfolio. And the third level is analyzing a portfolio, right? Like how it's been trending and what its risk factors and all that are. The fourth level is being alerted on risks. So like, for example, you invest in a token and suddenly the token's liquidity goes down, or you invest in you deposit in a lending pool and liquidity goes down. People might not think it's an issue, but yeah, if your lending pool liquidity goes down, it might be a bank run. You might not be able to put your money out, right? So it's things like this. And the last one is portfolio optimization. So we look at it from the entire scale of your portfolio, find out the different ways that we can help you, number one, stay safe. Number two, optimize it. And number three, stay updated on it. Number four, how do you find new ways to take advantage of it? So that's why I'm saying that as a utility play, I think without a doubt that we would be the most useful NFT for your journey. We might not be the one where you make the most money from. That's not my desire here. I'm not here to tell you that, oh, post-mint is going to 3x. Sorry, I'm trying to build a community here. I'm not trying to make you rich. But
Yeah.
what I can tell you is that
That's what it needs to be. I love that mentality. Yeah.
yeah, but if you do believe that our utility is useful, a big alpha I'm dropping here is that on the 1st of September, last Friday, so before end of August, we actually shared a tweet with 8 different roadmap items, okay, that were blurred out. All 8 of them will be reviewed before the launch of the NFT. So if you ask me when mint, you can pay attention to that, right? The moment all 8 are done, it will be reviewed, because a lot of those 8 will be for NFT holders that we will open up to the public to try. And at the same time, kind of battle test and upgrade before we make it for holders. Try those tools, and if you think they are useful, they are worth something to you, that's when you should decide to mint our collection. Yeah. And I'm very convinced it will be, because these are all my own personal ones. Like I want these tools, but no one has it. So that's why I built it, so that, that I and the wider community can benefit from it. So we have very high conviction on that. And one last note on our team. So I shared quite a lot of my history before. So one of the earliest OGs. One interesting thing is that My team has been the exact same team since 4 years ago. Zero attrition.
No way. 4
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. Yeah. We have a pretty decent size, like sufficiently sized team. And they're like family to me. Yeah. When I restructured the team, I really spent a lot of time trying to they were all most of them were new hires, but we've really bonded, they've really delivered. And at this point, 4 years in crypto, I think it's hard to find a team that can tell you that it's been the same team for 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
That's like the best way to do it too. Get
yeah,
4 years together, launch. Yeah, I'm excited.
it's nuts. Like I love them so much. I'm really, really proud of them. You just can't imagine the pride and joy, and the fact that we're finally doing this. Like the whole team is very excited. You can imagine, right? Like when I first restructured the team, and then for the first 2.5 years, it's bear market. It's just
Yeah.
absolutely depressing, right? Like I'm sure leaving me has come across that time minds a lot of times, but they stuck through it, and now we're finally at launch time. I would love to introduce these people to the community once we launch. Yeah. So I think if you are a fundamental investor or someone that's okay, I can't say investor because you shouldn't be speculating in my project. But if you're looking for a safe project to get in that can sustain itself for a long period of time, I think we check a lot of the right boxes here in terms of team, in terms of art lore, in terms of utility, in terms of marketing powers, right? Again, Twitter Spaces, 140 speakers. In terms of sustainability, right? We have never raised $1 and we've survived 4 years. Think about that. I think, yeah, if this is something that sounds right to you, reach out, right? My DMs are
Yeah.
open. The team's DMs are open. Like I would love to share more when we have more time. But it's been 2 hours, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. But yeah,
No, and
Thomas.
I would also say, I mean, stop into one of the spaces Tuesday, Thursday. I mean, I love what you're building. I mean, this is going to be so exciting. I love that NFTs kind of have this aspect where it's like you can really like connect with your NFT more than you ever would a meme coin, and it sounds like you're really looking to build that out. So I'm excited to see what you come out with. Excited for this mint, and excited to host another space one of these days. So always,
One thing I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but one thing I'll add is I forgot to mention that we have been experimenting and playing around with AI and training for a year now, I think. And the content that you're about to see across the next 4 weeks are going to be really interesting. I think short of streaming, because streaming is a whole different ball game. But I think it's gonna be really fun. Like honestly, like half the day today, I was just playing around with creating all kinds of crazy content, AI generated and also hand drawn. The different types of content we're gonna bring out is gonna be absolutely amazing. A big question I'm trying to solve right now is, can we avail those tools to our NFT holders so they can have fun with their avatars as well, right? If you're buying a digital representation of yourself, if you can have the tools that I'm playing around with right now, it's mind blowing. I'm having so much fun. Like, so this one teaser that, yeah, the art that you see is not necessarily limited to just what you see. You might be able to have some fun with that, but I can't give you confirmation right now. And I'm probably teasing more than like my team is comfortable with. But look forward to it. Check out our Twitter, keep notification on, and you'll see. In fact, I'm gonna share one right now, like right after this. It is what time is it now in Pacific time? It's 12 noon.
12.
Pacific time. Yes. You're gonna see like one of the which took me like minutes to make, right? Like, yeah, I'm gonna share it, and yeah, we're gonna have some fun, man. Thanks so much,
Awesome.
Thomas.
Yeah, well, thank you so much again. Yeah, really looking forward to what you're building out. I can't wait to check out this NFT. And thanks again for your time as always. And we'll talk soon on the spaces.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Thomas. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Solana Weekly. Once again, this is Thomas Bahamas, and I have one final ask for you guys. If you could, please subscribe on whatever player you're listening to. You could leave a review. That would be amazing. If you want to shill me your bags, work for them. But yeah, really appreciate it. And as always, this is not financial advice, but I want you guys to accelerate, move forward, and let's get this bag.